She asked to open our marriage, said it was for both of us. I agreed, not knowing it was already open on her end, and she was just looking for a way to excuse her guilt. I, 31M, met my wife, 30F, when we were both broke and busy, bartending, grad, school. Late-night ramen and dreams that didn't have timelines yet. We've been married 5 years now. Still love each other. Still say good morning. Still hold hands in the car sometimes. No cheating, no abuse, no major drama, but we've started feeling like roommates who kiss. Our sex life used to be fun. Now it's scheduled, twice a week if we're not exhausted. Quick, safe, loving, but not electric. We both feel it. We just don't say it. Not until one night after wine and a movie she said, "Do you ever wonder what it'd be like to sleep with someone new?" I didn't get angry. I laughed, said, "What? Like a hall pass?" She smiled. Said, "No, not like cheating. I mean, some people open their marriage, explore, together." She didn't say it like she was pushing me. She said it like she was thinking out loud. But something in my chest tightened anyway. I sat with it for a week, looked it up. Read articles, watched videos, listened to podcasts where couples sounded stable, even happier, after opening things up. I didn't tell her I was researching, just tried to understand what kind of people do this, and if we were them. She brought it up again. "I love you. I'm not missing you. But I am missing me." That stuck with me, because I felt it too. Not missing her, but missing something in myself. That part that used to feel wild, wanted, curious. We stayed up talking until 3 a.m. By the end, I said, "Let's talk about what it would look like." We made rules. No close friends, no exes, total honesty. We tell each other everything. If one of us gets uncomfortable, we stop. Immediately. We agreed to take it slow. Try dating apps. Talk about each step before we take it. She smiled and said, "I still want you to be my person." And I believed her. Making dating profiles together was weirdly fun. We laughed at bad bios, argued over what pictures to use, compared opening lines. She got more matches than I did, but that didn't surprise either of us. She's always been magnetic, in the kind of way people remember after one conversation. My first match flaked. Her first match didn't. She told me about it after. Not details, just that it was nice and they kissed. But she didn't want to go further yet. I felt weirdly okay about it, until I saw how she looked. When she said it, glowing like something in her had been turned back on. We kept checking in. I went on a date next. It was fine. Coffee. Polite conversation. No spark. I told her that night. She rubbed my back and said, "I'm proud of you for trying." That felt good. More real than I expected. I started thinking, maybe this could work. One night, she curled up next to me and said, "What if we tried something together?" I blinked. "You mean share someone?" She nodded. "Could be fun." I hesitated. She smiled. "No pressure, just an idea." I kissed her forehead and said, "Let's see what's out there." I didn't know it then, but what was out there was already in here. We agreed to take it slow. No sleepovers, no repeated hookups with the same person without talking, no hiding phones. We repeated those rules back to each other like vows. I think I needed that. The structure, the illusion of control. She went on another date. Second guy, new energy. She told me afterward that she didn't click with him. I exhaled more than I meant to. She caught it, smiled, and said, "You don't have to worry. You're still my home." It helped. For now. I matched with someone named Tasha. Smart, soft-spoken, funny. We had a nice dinner, a kiss. Good night, no sparks. Flying, but it felt normal. Like dating before everything got heavy, I told my wife. She asked if I'd see her again. I said I didn't think so. She said, "I like that you're being careful." I didn't say, I'm not built for casual. Our own intimacy changed after dates, whether hers or mine. The sex got better, hungrier, riskier. Like we were both trying to prove something. I think that's when I let myself believe this could actually make us stronger. Then she said, "Let's try it together. One person, a shared experience." I hesitated. She said, "We don't have to go all the way, just something playful, something new." I nodded, and we opened the apps again, side by side. We swiped together, critiqued together, laughed together, until she stopped, paused on one guy, Ben Scruffy, artistic, confident smirk, slightly older, liked hiking and woodworking. Profile said, "Here for deep connections and honest curiosity." I bit her lip a little and said, "He's cute." I said, "Go for it." We messaged him together. He was funny, chill, respectful, asked good questions, said he was open to meeting a couple, had some experience navigating that dynamic. I felt nervous, but excited too. She seemed more excited. We set up a hangout at our place, just drinks, chill, no expectations. The night before I asked her, "You sure?" She nodded, curled up next to me and said, "This will be good for us." I believed her. Ben arrived with wine and good energy. He was charming, natural, knew how to talk without trying too hard. My wife laughed more in the first hour than she had all week, I noticed. So did he. He made her a drink, knew exactly how. She liked it. Said something about her favorite podcast before she could mention it. She smiled too easily, touched his arm without thinking, and I felt something shift inside me. Not rage, not fear, just this cold, creeping whisper in the back of my skull that said, "They've done this before." After Ben left that night, I couldn't sleep. She fell asleep fast, like she always does after wine and flirting. I lay there staring at the ceiling, running through every laugh, every shared look, every casual touch between them. It wasn't the physical stuff. It was the comfort. The next morning, I asked, "Had you talked to Ben before we matched?" She blinked. "No, not really. Just messages since we started looking." I nodded, but something about the "not really" stayed with me. I looked through her phone when she was in the shower. I hate that I did it. I also don't regret it. Nothing recent. No long text threads, but there were deleted messages. That told me more than the ones she kept. Later that week, I checked her Instagram, scrolled way back. Random brunch photo from last fall. She was tagged in the background at some gallery. So was Ben. They weren't posing together, but he was there, and so was she. I asked again, carefully this time, "Do you think you've ever seen Ben before?" She smiled casually. "Maybe at an event or something." "Why?" I said. "He looked familiar. I think I follow someone he knows." She nodded. No flicker of nerves. That scared me more than if she'd flinched. We tried to schedule another meetup with Ben. She seemed eager. Too eager. I said I was busy. She said, "Maybe just the two of us then?" I froze. She backtracked fast. "I'm kidding. We said we'd only do this stuff together." She kissed my cheek, but my chest was tight the rest of the night. I started thinking about timelines. When did we open things? How long ago was that gallery photo? How long before that had she been saying she felt disconnected? I pulled up her calendar, our texts, credit card charges, photos, and I started seeing gaps. At dinner, I mentioned the gallery. Casually. She said she didn't remember going. Then, 10 minutes later, said the food truck outside had awesome bao. I didn't say anything, just watched her chew and felt my stomach turn. I went out for a walk that night, ended up sitting on a park bench for an hour, trying to name the feeling in my chest. Not anger, not betrayal, something else, like the echo of trust collapsing, like finding out the ground under you is made of dust. I sat across from her on the couch the next night. She was scrolling, laughing at some meme, and I just watched her, really watched her. The woman I've loved for years, the one who said we were a team, and I realized this wasn't something that happened. This was something that was done, and she still hadn't told me the truth. I waited until we were alone. No phones, no distractions. She was folding laundry. I sat across from her and said, "I need to ask you something, and I want the whole answer." She paused. I asked, "How long have you known Ben?" She looked up like I'd just turned off gravity. "What do you mean?" "I mean, not when we matched. I mean, before that." There was a pause. And then she said, "A few months. We met at that art show, I think." My chest went cold. "You said you didn't remember going," she blinked. I didn't know you'd looked." That's when I knew this wasn't uncertainty. This wasn't fear. This was cover-up. She was building answers based on what she thought I already knew. I said, "Did you sleep with him before we opened up?" She didn't speak, didn't cry, didn't even look shocked, just nodded. "Once. Barely." "When?" "A few weeks before we had the first conversation." "Before you brought it up?" "Yeah. So you didn't ask to open the marriage." You asked for retroactive permission." She flinched at that one. And I walked out of the room. She came into the bedroom later, eyes red, voice low. It wasn't a relationship. It was a mistake. I said, "No. Mistakes happen once. This was a choice. And then you built a system around it to make it feel okay." She didn't argue. I asked the question that scared me the most. If I hadn't figured it out, would you have ever told me? She didn't answer. That was an answer. She started apologizing in waves, not performative, not defensive, just quiet. She said she panicked after the hookup, realized what she'd risked, and thought the only way to make it make sense was to open the door after she'd already walked through it. She said she still loved me, that she never stopped. I believed her, but I didn't know if that mattered anymore. I slept in the guest room, not to punish her, just to hear my own thoughts again. She left a note on the nightstand. "If you need to walk away, I'll understand, but I'll never stop being sorry." I stared at the ceiling and thought, she didn't cheat on me. She changed the rules, broke them, then handed me a smile and said it was fair play. That's not a marriage, that's a con, and the worst part? I still want to forgive her. But I don't know who I'd be forgiving. We didn't fight. There was no yelling, no slamming doors, no accusations, just silence. She made breakfast. I cleaned up. We exchanged logistics, grocery lists, schedule changes, laundry loads, but not us. I started, sleeping in later, taking longer showers, answering texts slower, leaving the house more often. I wasn't trying to be distant. It was just easier than pretending we were okay. She left little signs, a sticky note in my work bag, "Hope today's gentle," a Spotify playlist titled "For You Still," dinner ready when I got home. My favorite beer in the fridge, but none of it reached me, because it all felt like trying to paint over a cracked wall. I found her crying in the kitchen one night, didn't say anything, just stood there holding the mail like we were strangers, in the same house. She wiped her eyes and whispered, "I wish I could go back." I said, "So do I," and walked out. My sister called. I told her everything. She went quiet for a long time, then said, "You don't have to make her the villain, but don't make yourself the fool either." That sat with me longer than it should have. My coworker asked if I was okay. I shrugged, said I'd been sleeping weird. She said I looked like I was grieving someone who wasn't dead. I said, "That's not wrong." She didn't push, just said, "You should try going out just once, a change of scenery." I laughed, said I wasn't ready. She said, "No one is." That night, I re-downloaded the app, just stared at it for a while. I didn't even want to flirt. I just wanted to feel wanted again, wanted without history, without guilt, without a face that knew exactly where I broke. I matched with someone. We talked. She was nice and invited me out, so I said yes. I went on a date just to see if I could. She was nice, pretty, smart. We had 2 drinks, talked about movies, laughed a little. And when she asked if I wanted to come back to her place, I said, "I'm still in love with my wife, and I don't know if I'm staying." She nodded. We split the check and walked out in silence. I told my wife about the date. She asked, "Did you sleep with her?" I said no. She exhaled, then asked, "Why did you tell me?" I said, "Because I don't lie to you, even when I want to." She asked if I hated her. I said, "No." She asked if I still loved her. I didn't answer, not because I didn't, but because I didn't know if that was enough anymore. I found the letter she wrote weeks ago, the one I didn't open. I sat on the floor and read it. Every word bled regret. Every sentence said, "I was afraid to lose you, so I became the reason I did." We went to sleep in separate rooms that night, but I stood outside our old bedroom door for a long time. She was reading. I could see the glow of her phone under the doorframe. Almost knocked, but I didn't, because I didn't know if I was coming back or just afraid to leave. We stopped talking about the past, stopped talking about the future, too. Everything became present tense, surface level. "Need anything from the store?" "The dishwasher's full. I'll be late tonight." It was like being married to a colleague. She left her wedding ring on the counter one morning, not on purpose. I don't think she even noticed. I stared at it for 5 minutes, then put it back in the dish like it was someone else's. We saw a couple holding hands at the park. She watched them too long, then said, half laughing, "Remember when that was us?" I wanted to say yes, but I honestly wasn't sure anymore. Therapy helped me name it. Grief, not over the marriage itself, but over the version of it I thought we had. The version where honesty was sacred, where we were safe, where I didn't have to look over my shoulder to see if love was still behind me. She stopped trying to touch me. No more gentle shoulder squeezes. No lingering hugs. It was like we both decided in silence that touch without trust just hurts more. She asked if I was seeing anyone. I said no. She nodded like she already knew. Said, "You always took longer to let go of things." I almost told her, "I'm still holding on because I don't know who I am without you." But I didn't. She left for the weekend to visit her sister. I stayed home, cleaned, read, slept. And the house was so still, so easy, that it scared me. Because I didn't miss her. And that felt like another kind of betrayal. When she got back, she asked how I was. I said fine. She looked disappointed, like she wanted me to hurt. Not to be cruel, but because pain meant I still cared. One night, I dreamt we were laughing. In the car. Just laughing, like nothing had ever gone wrong. I woke up with tears already on my face, because it was the first time I'd seen that version of her in weeks, and I missed her so much it physically ached. She made breakfast. I made coffee. We sat at the table in silence, our hands almost brushing. I wanted to say something, anything. But all I could think was, if I say the wrong thing, I'll lose the last thread holding us together. So I said nothing, and we both swallowed the silence like it was easier than truth. Therapy resumed. Not the kind where you sit on opposite ends of the couch and pretend you're making progress. This time we came in broken, and for once, neither of us tried to hide it. The therapist asked us each to name one moment we wish we could go back to. She said, "The second time I messaged Ben. The first could have been a mistake. The second meant I was choosing him over telling you the truth." I said, "The moment you brought up opening the marriage, because I said yes, thinking we were in this together. I didn't know I was already too late." We left in silence, but for the first time, it didn't feel cold. It felt like both of us were sitting in the same pain, and that mattered. We started small, making dinner together, folding laundry with music playing, watching shows without phones. It wasn't about fixing, it was about showing up without pretending. She broke down one night, Not dramatic, just sudden, quiet tears while we were brushing our teeth. She said, "I hated myself after, but I didn't want to be the one who broke us, so I tried to convince myself you'd be okay with it." I said, "You didn't break us. You broke me. I'm still figuring out if we're broken too." I wrote a list in therapy, not of what she did, but of what I felt. Words like erased, replaced, rewritten, used. I read it to her. She didn't cry. She didn't defend. She just said, "I'm sorry, and I'm still here. If that ever stops being enough, I'll understand." She started therapy on her own again. Didn't tell me right away. When she did, she said, "I didn't want to ask you to believe in me again until I believed in myself." That hit harder than I expected. We laughed one night, really laughed, over something dumb, a wine stain on a pillow of all things. And afterward, I caught myself staring at her, not because I missed her, but because for a moment, I saw her again, and it didn't hurt. The therapist asked, "Do you still love each other?" She said yes. I said, "Yes, but I don't know if I can love her the way I used to." The therapist nodded. "That's honest. Now let's talk about whether you want to love her differently." We drove home without music. She reached over and grabbed my hand. I didn't pull away. We didn't say anything, but the silence finally felt safe, like it wasn't hiding something anymore, just holding space for what might come next. We started eating dinner at the table again. No TV, no phones, just food and silence. Then stories, then jokes. It didn't feel like getting back to normal. It felt like finding something new, something quieter. But quieter doesn't mean stronger. She deleted the apps, didn't announce it, just handed me her phone one night and said, "I want you to know, I didn't ask her to." But I appreciated it, even as I wondered why I needed that gesture so badly. We had sex for the first time in months. It was slow, careful, awkward. Afterward, she curled into me and whispered, "Did that feel like us?" I said, "I don't know." She nodded. That was enough for both of us. My therapist asked, "Do you still feel like you're married?" I said, "Some days, and on the other days, like we're roommates trying to remember if we were ever soulmates." She asked me what I needed from her. I said, "Time and no more secrets." She nodded. Didn't say, "I promise." Just said, "I'll try. Every day." That meant more. She started bringing up Ben sometimes, not to torture me, just to take the power away from the silence. She told me when she blocked him, told me when she wanted to delete the old messages, but only if I wanted to read them first. Didn't. I just said, "Let them go." We planned a weekend away, just a cabin, just us. She packed a book. I brought my journal. We talked the first night for hours. She said, "I still think about what I did. Every day." I said, "Me too." She asked, "So why are you still here?" I answered without thinking, "Because leaving felt just as wrong." We watched the sun rise together that morning. She reached for my hand. This time I held it. Not because I'd forgiven her, not because everything was fixed, but because the part of me that was broken wasn't screaming anymore, just humming. Low, uncertain, alive. People ask if we're doing better. We say yes, and we are. Mostly. But healing isn't a line. It's a loop. And some days, I wake up inside the worst version of the memory, and she just holds me without words. That's become our new language. Sometimes I look at her and I remember everything, the lie, the night, the breakdown. And sometimes I look at her and remember before, and sometimes I don't know which version is real anymore, but I'm still here, still trying, still confused. And maybe that's not closure, but it's truth, and that's more than we had for a long time.